What's happening, guys? This is Jeff Gamble, Indianapolis, Indiana, and this is the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. It is Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm just going to throw on some invites here out to some people we know. If you are joining us on the replay, please type in replay in the comments section. If you can share this, we'd appreciate it. Hope all is well. Getting out these invites here real quick. Dave. It allowed for different people this time. That's weird. Every time I get on, it allows different people. Jennifer's on. Hello, Jennifer. Joyce is on. Hello, hello. Jennifer Johnson. John, how you doing? Judy, hello. Judy, this weekend I'm actually working on the lead program, so I'll be able to get that over to you guys. I apologize, it's taking a little bit longer. We're trying to finish and wrap up like 3 different things at the same time. Frank is here. Adrian's with us. Hope all is well. Where are you guys coming from? So what we're doing today is going over law number 10, the law of connection. Connection is what it's all about. Being able to actually get through the basics of, meeting, greeting, and bonding with somebody to the point where you have the ability to build a relationship. So what we do is we do this every day, Monday through Friday, 12 noon. We take about 30 minutes, go through one of John C. Maxwell's lessons to be able to connect with more people. Now this lesson is specifically directed at MLM. Network marketing, direct sales, but all the information can be used in whatever way you happen to use it. Obviously the lessons are universal. They have the ability to be used in real estate, insurance. I've used them in my holistic health company. So I have a couple different companies, and this information has allowed me to build multiple companies at the same time, simply because I started understanding some of the skills needed to be able to connect with great people, to be able to build relationships with great people, to be able to influence the right people, to be able to take over, run things, recruit, build a team, train people. And that's obviously given us a lot of freedom to be able to do shows like this, to be able to take off. I got to a point where I was working about 10 days a month, really hard, about 2 hours a day. And then it allowed me to do everything else. So that's where the information can take you. Our income tripled, which is always nice. Always nice to have more income. Bess says she wants to be on my video, and I will allow that. Go together. And because I like her and she's a nice person. So.
Hey everybody.
There she is.
How's everyone today? Law of connection. That's a really special one. We are Jeff David Gamble of My Leadership Network, also certified John Maxwell trainer and speaker, and Bess McCarty, coach for network marketers, also the shrink of MLM. And we partner to teach for you, teach the skills and the mindset of network marketing in the school MLM Millionaire Club, and to bringing you these generic lunchtime trainings, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, empower, and equip entrepreneurs, and create independent servant leaders. So we welcome you. If you are here to be a better leader, type yes. I want to hear your commitment. I want to hear your voice. And I know that's why you're here, but let's make it verbal. Let's tell the world. And if you're watching the replay, love if you type replay. Also, we'd like to hear where you're from. So this is a very special one. There's other really important laws too, but this one is about connecting with the heart. I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
So what we're going to do is talk about connection. It says leaders attract people like themselves. We learned that in the law of magnetism. It says the heart comes first, but you must connect at an emotional level. Emotional meaning you have to get down to the part where they're like, yeah, I like this person, because people do business with people they know, people they like, and people they trust. So it's the trust part that's the actual breakthrough. How does that work? We're going to learn here right now. Learning the law of connection. It says connect with yourself. Kevin Hulse, the author of Aspire, says there's 4 belief statements. I am worthy. People who do not feel like they're worthy have a very hard time connecting with anybody else. Why? Because if you don't feel like you're worthy, you probably don't value other people. Why? Because you're so worried about what's going on with you. I see this a lot. It's really, I think all of this connection stuff has a lot to do with your own personal self-esteem. If you don't think you're valuable, you will fail to see anybody else as valuable because you're so busy working on what? Working on your own personal belief. Thank you, Becky. Good to have you with us. 2, am I capable? Are you capable of connecting with people? Are you capable of believing in yourself? That comes with time. You know, people are like, how do you change this? You know, I did not have a great self-esteem growing up. I would get mad and want to do stuff, but I didn't have the ability to positively move towards what I wanted. I would move towards something negatively meaning I'm going to do this because I'm getting back at somebody. I'm going to do this to prove to somebody. The proving part was a little bit more positive, but it was only proving to get back at somebody. So it was really kind of based in the negative. It took me a while before I started reading the books. And here's what I did. If you really want to change, start reading successful books. Jim Rohn talks about this. Read biographies and autobiographies of successful people. Why? Because what you'll end up learning is successful people are usually just as messed up, if not more messed up than you are. And that personally helped me out so much, because what I realized is some of the things that I struggled with, they struggled with, but they figured out a way to be successful anyway. So what you typically will find is when somebody brings up all their woes, well, you don't understand because I live in Vermont. Well, you don't understand because I, grew up with only one parent. Well, you don't understand because I didn't go to school. Well, you don't understand. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of people and their reasons why they can't. Well, when you read a lot of autobiographies and biographies, what you'll find out is you'll have reference points to all these different people who made it regardless. Well, you don't understand because I'm female. Well, you don't understand because I'm a single child. Well, you don't understand because of my brothers and sisters. I'll be honest, when you read about successful people, I mean, they've overcome that and so much worse. So much. I mean, situations that you're like, I don't even want to talk about. It's hard to bring up in public. And they figured it out and still became successful anyway. So when you talk about, being capable, oh, I don't know, am I worthy? Next, am I deserving? That's a decision you have to make. You can see all the success elsewhere, but a lot of people feel like they don't deserve it. Why? Because it goes back to a self-value thing. Just what is your reference point? What is your reference point in trusting yourself? What is your reference point in believing that you can? Because, what typically happens is, if you think about your imagination could take you in 2 different directions. This is the positive and the negative of imagination. Your imagination could create a scenario and you can envision yourself failing. You can envision stuff not working out, or you can use your imagination for positive. I don't know all the psychological stuff behind it, but I do know that we're typically brought up to see the negative simply because we've been programmed that direction. Because a kid hears the word no, you can't, don't, stop about 40,000 times by the time they're 5. And they hear the word yes, you can, you should, about 5,000 times by the time they're 5 years old. So that's a 4 times, I mean, think about it. That's 75% more negativity, more you can't, more stop, more don't by the time you're 5. It's pre-programmed in there. Now, that doesn't give you an excuse not to succeed. What you have to do is just find the people who have figured out how to overcome it and reprogram yourself or program yourself to start succeeding. But if you don't feel like you're worthy, if you don't feel like you're capable, if you don't feel like you're deserving, then that's going to be a problem. If that's your problem, here's what you need. You don't need another book. You need a professional that can help you figure out and overcome that. Because once you break through that, the rest of the building a company, the rest of the direct sales, the rest of building an MLM, that's easy. That part's easy. Fixing yourself is the hardest. The internal, you'll have more problems with than the external. Because once you fix yourself, you won't be affected by the external so much. Last, I trust myself. People do business with people they know, people they like, and people they trust. Well, here's the thing. Most people, this is funny, most people don't really know themselves. And what I mean by know themselves is most people don't realize what their triggers are. Most people don't realize what their habitual habits are. Most people don't realize their basic human instincts. They just do based on circumstances, and then they have these issues. People know, first thing, people do business with people they know. They like is second. I know so many people who don't like themselves. There's a difference, God says, love everybody, love yourself, which most people don't do, but he doesn't say like them, so we're not necessarily, a lot of people aren't trained necessarily to like everybody. But what you want to do is you want to look on the inside first and say, what do I like? To start with the positive, John says, look for your strengths. What do you like? What do you like about yourself? Because until you like yourself, because some people don't like the physical, some people don't like the emotional, some people don't like their environment, some people don't like where they live. And what they do is they start focusing on the things they don't like. I don't like my car. I don't like my life. I don't like my job. And, it's really easy to understand. If you don't like 80% of what you're seeing, you're going to have a hard time liking yourself, because yourself is the one who put you in a lot of these positions. Mm-hmm. They say you didn't necessarily, you can't make the decision of where you're born and the environment you grow up in, but you can make the decision in where you end up. So you can make decisions to get out of that, situation. So people do business with people they know, people they like. Well, what about trust? Have you ever gotten into a situation where you're like, man, I just don't trust myself. Every time I get into one of these situations, here's what I do. Well, again, if you talk to a coach, if you talk to a therapist, if you figured some of that out and fixed that, the rest of the business becomes easy. So this book, Aspire, 4 belief statements. Am I worthy? Am I capable? Am I deserving? Do I trust myself? Living the law of connection. It says we have to touch a heart before we ask for a hand. So before you reach out and be like, oh my gosh, get in my business, it'd be really good to start understanding people. The basics of understanding people: form, family, occupation, recreation, and the message. Family, occupation, recreation, and the message. It was called Aspire. Lucy asked what the book was called. It's called Aspire by Kevin Hall, Hall. So we have to touch a heart before we ask for a hand. So you're going to want to use form, family, occupation, recreation, the message. You're going to want to get to know this person before you ask them, join me. Now, in some cases, when we first get started, who are we talking to? The people we know. So that's why the favor script works so well. Hey, do me a favor. I want to share with you what I'm doing. So if you run into the right person, you can refer them to me. Once you're able to do that and people are listening to what's going on, see, as you improve, people will see it. Here's the funny thing. As you start doing personal development, as you start fixing things on the inside, as you start becoming and having more self-worth, what will happen is people will see it on the outside before you will. And people will say, man, you're different. You've changed. You'll start hearing that. I don't know what's happening, but I can, people sense it. They can see it, happening on the inside. All of a sudden they're like, you're different. I don't know. Are you wearing something different? Are you doing something different? That's where it becomes so powerful, because it's that outside change. It's that outside environment. It's how you carry yourself. It's the way in which you talk. Because remember, most of that change is not going to happen physically. It's going to happen internally, and then it's going to happen with the thoughts, and you're going to have a different outlook on what's going on. It's like somebody who finally finds that person to be with. All of a sudden they change. Why do they change? Well, because their dominating thoughts is not about, oh my gosh, I have to find somebody. It's about whoever this person is. I mean, we've all met that person. We're like, you're different, you're changed. You can almost sense it, and you're like, what happened? They're like, I met somebody. Okay, what's going on with that? I don't know. We just recently had a friend that this happened to, and, she was like, oh my God, I met somebody. I was like, and? She's like, well, it's super scary. This person's like really level-headed, and I never saw, this is a friend of ours that never saw themselves getting married, never saw themselves in a relationship, and all of a sudden, that's what they're starting to talk about. I never saw myself moving forward. I never saw myself, living with somebody, and now I can actually see it. And because they can see it, guess what their personality does? I mean, you can just sense that things are going well. The same thing is true when you start believing in yourself and you believe that you can accomplish what you're actually in. It's not fear-based, it's faith-based, because you actually can envision, you're using your imagination to envision what's going to happen positively in the future. That's one of the things that starts happening and changing, is once you see one positive thing happen and it happens, it'll spiral into the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So the first heart we have to touch is our own, meaning you've got to work on yourself. 3, we cannot lead others to a place we've never been ourselves. That's why having a coach, that's why having a mentor, that's why sitting down with somebody consistently will move you forward so much faster. Because if you have to learn all these lessons by figuring them out yourself, you could be like me and take a decade to do it, or you could take an hour. Which one seems better? You know, people are like, oh, that's expensive. Well, how expensive is 10 years of trying to figure it out? You know, can you put a dollar figure on that? Can you put a dollar figure on a decade of exactly how expensive that is? I guarantee the decade is more expensive. 4, know your gifted or your purpose. Know your giftedness or your purpose. You know, first of all, find out what your strengths are and find out what are you designed to do? What are you good at? You know, certain people are really good at working with people, and then they're like, well, I'm scared to build an organization. I'm like, yeah, but you're really good at working with people. So obviously, if this comes easy to you being in the room, then what you're lacking is just the belief that you can run it. And the lacking of the belief to run it may be the skill, but I bet it's basically something deeper than that. List your skills, list your disappointments or setbacks, find commonality in the list. Where does your story go? How did it happen? Why did that happen the way it happened? Know your enthusiasm or your passion. What are the things you do or would do regardless of the pay? You know, I like this. My friend said, look for the things that have always worked and seem to come easy. Look for the things that have always worked and seem to come easy. And just because it's hard, it might be hard because you're not used to doing it. Taking on a new project, working on something you've never done, here's the thing. That's what creates excitement. So if you don't know this, look this one up. This is a great Tony Robbins. It's a TED Talk that he does. It's about 21 minutes. Andrew's with us. What's happening, sir? So there's a TED Talk by Tony Robbins, and it's the 6 basic human needs. And the first human need is the need for what? The need for sameness, the need for consistency, the need for, the things that will always remain constant. Now, this is why we're nuts as people. Mm-hmm. We're all crazy, for those of you who don't know. If you're thinking, I'm not crazy, you're probably the most crazy. Because admitting that you're not crazy is probably crazier than saying you are crazy. So the second basic human need is the need for change, the need for randomness, the need to throw it up in the air. So if you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like nothing's going on, typically it's because you're not setting any goals to push yourself out of your comfort zone. So we're uniquely designed to find a comfort zone and then get mad that we're in a comfort zone. Isn't that weird? I mean, only some kind of a genius could have designed that one. We seek a comfort zone and then we get upset emotionally to remain in that comfort zone. Why aren't things changing? Why aren't things getting better? And what you have to do is you have to sit down with a professional who can show you what your comfort zone is. It's really easy. Just look for the edge. Diagnosed crazy. I know, me too, Monica. I mean, I was therapeutically diagnosed. They're like, there's something wrong with you. I'm like, yeah, we all know that. Am I paying you hourly for this? So my teacher, I said, because of my ADHD, and it was really funny. One of my mentors, David Bird, was like, oh, you all have it. Don't worry about it. He's like, you have it. Mark has it. Todd has it. Sean has it. Every one of you that I've coached has it. I was like, okay, so it's not just uniquely me. He's like, no, you're all crazy. So that's when I knew. I mean, when a professional who coaches, the average person he coaches is over $500,000 a year. He's been doing it for 31 years. He's coached thousands and thousands of people. And he's like, yeah, you're nuts. I was like, okay, good. So just to let you guys know, you attract like who you are. So if you're on here watching, you're crazy too. We're crazy to be an MLM. You have to think a little bit different to remain with the 0.3%. The 0.3% of the people who are like, I want to try something completely different and I want to get out of here. I mean, you have to be a little crazy to think you can build an organization. You know, you have to be nuts. So you're with a good crowd of people. What makes you laugh? What makes you cry? Those are things you want to understand. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your setbacks? And look at all this. What is your passion and enthusiasm in? What do you want to design? That's why focusing on the why is powerful, because focusing on the why helps you use your imagination to connect the dots. And eventually when you want something bad enough, you'll go get it. That's typically how it works. So I don't help people focus so much on the 20,000 square foot mansion if they're living in an apartment. So watch this connection, because what will happen is I don't know if you know this, but you can actually design a dream board and design a dream that actually scares you more into staying where you're at than moving you forward. A lot of people don't realize that. You can build it so far out that you're like, all of your fears and all of your, when you look at that dream board, you're not envisioning getting the stuff. You're envisioning everything that's going to go wrong as you approach it. So you don't even look at that. The best thing to do, from what my mentor taught me, is look at the next thing, the thing that's just outside your comfort zone. If you go from no car to a Ferrari, you probably aren't going to see that, right? But if you go from no car to a used Honda to have a car, you're like, okay, I can, that makes sense. Not only does it make sense, you'll get support from those around you. But if you try to go from no car to a Ferrari, everybody thinks you're clinically crazy and wants to lock you up. Now, if you have the Honda, the used Honda, and you're like, I really need to move up, again, jumping all the way to the exotic car, usually I want a plane. The connection isn't there. It'll probably scare you. It'll probably emotionally, you'll build all of these reasons why you can't. It's too far out of the comfort zone. It doesn't make sense. But to go from maybe the used Honda to the Acura or Lexus, that makes sense. You'll get support from those around you. It's just outside your comfort zone. So you can see moving from a $200 car payment to a $400 to $600 car payment. It makes sense. It's visual. You're like, oh yeah, I can build my business. I see the connection. You'll see the connections. You'll see the path along the way. But most people who don't have a car can't see the path to the 20,000 square foot house. But watch this. We all seek acceptance for those around us. So what we'll do is, rather than doing the next one and having that on the dream board, these are my next things, what we'll do is we'll try to impress everybody else around us. And sometimes as coaches, we'll encourage people so far out of their comfort zone, we scared the crap out of them never to do it. This is why one of my mentors took people dream building. He took people dream building to the next car, the next house, the next watch, the next whatever they're looking for, whatever the next thing is, because they can see it, they can envision it, they can do it. And then he will stretch their dream by saying, this is what I'm looking at. This is where you could get to. I didn't start looking at this. I started looking at what you looked at. Then I got that. Then there were 3 or 4 steps in the middle, and now I'm where I'm at. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So dreaming out in front of people, always dreaming, always expanding the dream. So what makes you sing? Okay, so number 6, live through your giftedness and enthusiasm. Plan an executed combination of purpose and passion. Some people have the purpose, but the passion part is where I have to work with people. When I talk about influence, I'm like, look, I'm listening to you present, and I've talked to you, and I know you're internally excited about this, but you sound like a robot when you present, because you're more concerned about getting the words right than you are about explaining the excitement. Then I've heard the opposite. You're so, enamored about the excitement that you're all over the place, and there's no clear path to anywhere you're talking about going. Oh, and this, oh, and this, oh, and this, oh, and this. I'm like, that's so random. Like, nobody can connect the dots, including you. You don't understand your plan. So that's why we use what? No, it's a flip book. Even with the John C. Maxwell stuff, most of it I know, but I'd rather go through it step by step, so that way it's an easier lesson to teach. Because remember, when we go out to educate people about our business, we really are teaching. 7, true success is living our purpose with passion through actually a plan. See, that's where the dots start connecting. That's where people start going, okay, I understand this person wants more. I understand that. I understand that this person is excited about wanting more. And then you're like, let me share with you the plan. Let me share with you why I know we can get there. Anyone can get there. I'm going to get there. Let me show you with you exactly how it works. So that way, if you have an interest, or if you know of anybody who has an interest, I can show you the way to get there. When you're able to show the purpose of why, the passion, the emotion of why, and then you're able to lay it out in a plan and say, look, this is how you get to level 1. This is how you get to level 2. I can show you all the way how to get to where I've gotten, where I've made it to, whatever the $11,900 something a month. If $11,900 a month will solve it, great. If you want to make more than that, I can show you how to do it in real estate. But that's as far as I've been able to make it to inside of direct sales. It's about 11.9 in a month. But outside of direct sales, I can show you how to get to $500,000 Why? Because I've done the $40,000+ a month. I can get you to there. That most people, that's where they're dreaming at, is getting to there. Okay, I'm good. If you want to go beyond that, I can introduce you to several people that I know that have gotten to $100,000 a month. I've got a few friends that have made $300,000, $400,000 a month. So we can take you there if that's where you're at. But most people, that's freak out zone. You're so far out of your comfort zone, you think you're going to fall off the edge. You're hanging on for dear life. You're like, okay, it's too far, too much. I need to come back. So just take people to the next step, understand. But if you take their purpose and their passion and show you the plan to just, most of the time, I just show them the plan to replace their income. What if I can show you a way to just replace your income? You could be doing what you're doing now, only you'd have all the time back. Oh, okay, that'd be interesting. But I'm struggling now. Okay, well, you might need to make twice as much as what you're making. But people can envision twice as much because they've seen, the first amount. Just imagine having twice that. Oh my God, that would solve all my problems. Okay, good. Let's start there. So with that, that's the first part, law of connection. I'm going to turn this over to Bess before we come back and close out.
Thanks, Jeff. Want to say hi to Adrian, Judy, Frankie, Joyce, Monica, Becky, Raja. Glad you're here. Diane, Nellie, Oscar, Vicky, Nancy, Thomas, and Tony. And so glad you guys are joining us here. Remember, you can type in a question and a takeaway. We'd love to hear both, and pretty soon we'll see if there's any questions that we could help anyone with. We'd also love to hear your insights and your takeaway. How do you connect with people? How do you connect with yourself? Welcome, Denise. So connecting with people emotionally before, I'll say connect with people emotionally before asking for help, or before moving them to action, before asking them to do anything. In fact, the bigger the challenge, the stronger is the connection needed to enlist the support or the teamwork. Let's all, lock arms. Let's all bring 5 people to the next convention. Let's all help people to get out of debt. That has to be that emotional connection first. I cannot imagine my dog obeying me if the love bond isn't there. He wouldn't go just obey a stranger, right? That's not what it takes. It's not an authoritative voice that gets him to move or act. It's the love bond that we have. He hates getting his teeth brushed. He acts like he's going through surgery when that happens. But I brush his teeth. He hates it. He could bite me. He could stop me from brushing his teeth, but he kind of just kind of moves his mouth around, makes it hard for me to do it. But gosh, he could bite me. But he knows that there's something there for his good, or I wouldn't be doing it, because I love the dog. So he can sense that. So connect with people before asking them to do anything, even if it's for their own good and for themselves and all that. Stories. Bob Dole, for those of you, when I was a kid, Bob Dole was a senator of Kansas, where I live now, and he ran for president. His wife, Elizabeth, now, she was warm and approachable, but Bob, he was stern and distant. He was a good man, but he did not connect with the people, or he could not at that time anyway. And ironically, it was real funny, because after he lost the presidential race, he appeared on Saturday Night Live, which is a humor show, and they made fun of him, how he was during his entire campaign as a humorless, out-of-touch person. And on that show, he actually relaxed and became approachable, and he was able to make fun with himself, and he was a hit with the audience. And we wonder what would have happened if he would have done that during his presidential campaign. You know, would he have become president of the United States? And that's what I think Jeff was talking about, a robot. And that is me. It took me a couple of years to be comfortable here on videos because I was so worried about saying exactly the right thing and exactly the right scripts. And I would get feedback from people that, oh, it's so stiff, because I was trying to say the most perfect right thing and all that rather than being myself. And that goes back to my childhood when it wasn't okay to be who I was, and I was criticized, and I was worried about not being liked and all that stuff. So if I can do this, you guys, you can do this. We encourage you to get on Facebook Lives and be yourself and connect with people like this. Tell your story especially. That's what people really want to hear, and that's what means something to them. Even more than sending them to a video or, you know, your company's video or anything. It's like, wow, what's your story? How did you find your company? What problem did you have that your company solved, whether it's health or financial or whatever? That's cool. That's interesting. That's riveting. Your story. So the more that you can tell that, the more connected you'll be with people. Another story or example is Sonny Bono. Remember him of the Sonny and Cher show? Well, when they split up and divorced, they still worked together for a little while, but eventually Cher just kept going in the show business, and Sonny opened a restaurant, and then he got into politics, and he became the mayor of Palm Springs, and he actually got into the U.S. House of Representatives. And even there, people said, you know, he was such a thoughtful man, and he was always humorous, and he would make you bigger than him so he could serve you. On the Sonny and Cher show, he wrote all that material, you know, the skits and the banter that he and his wife Cher did with each other. And he always put himself, well, sometimes her, but himself at the butt of the jokes, you know. And Cher said, well, you know, he wrote all that stuff about himself. And that takes a strong person to be able to make fun of yourself. Think how secure and strong that must be. So that goes back to what Jeff was talking about, you know, do you love yourself before you can love other people? Do you trust yourself? Do you believe you're deserving? And so many of the people that I have worked with as a coach and a body-mind therapist over 30 years, that is a big block that they come with. How can you reach the next goal or next rank or next level or next income level? Or how can you reach a better life if you feel you don't deserve it? A prime example is a man who was sent to me by his chiropractor. And he knew I was a body-mind therapist. And he said, I think there's something psychologically going on with this patient. He comes to me once a year with a car accident. And it's not his fault. Somebody's always hitting him. You know, maybe some weird thing he's attracted to somehow. Can you do something for him? So we worked. We found out that his father had put him down as a child, you know, verbally. And so then, you know, you can't do this. You don't deserve this. You'll never be able to do this. So as in his profession, as he began to get successful, that internal program kicked in and said, you can't be doing this because you can't do this. You don't deserve this. So a car accident would then incapacitate him for a while and reduce his income and work against his business, just like now he was comfortable, because that's his comfort zone, is not, I don't deserve, I can't, right? Now he's back in his comfort zone. So he somehow attracted these accidents. Somebody would always hit him. It would never be his fault. Interesting, isn't it? What our energy, what our mindset can actually attract and manifest in our lives. This is a true story. So we worked just a short time. He had been seeing psychologists, psychiatrists, psychologists weekly for like 3 years. But within one session, just a couple sessions, we uncovered why and changed that. And he hasn't had a car accident since. And he's successful in his business. So this is an example of what Jeff said. You don't have to do it alone. You could, but it's going to take a lot longer and harder. I don't think we're designed to be on this earth to be an island. I love helping people. I've always had a coach and a mentor. And the expense, you know, one thing that I talk with people about is how much has this belief system or the stuck places that you have in you, how much has it cost you so far? Usually they say thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe even millions. And how much will it cost you between now and the rest of your life in your network marketing business if you do not take care of this block? And usually people say millions. They can see that. They can see that people around them are making millions of dollars in network marketing. They can see that this thing's holding them back. So what is more expensive, to go ahead and get the help, or to continue as we are? Now, one little tip about if you see a trigger, if you have a trigger, if you are bothered by something in somebody else, take a look and you will find it there. And if you heal that, in other words, that person that's bugging you or a pain in the butt can be a gift to show you where the same thing is within you. And that's another chance to look at yourself and polish it up. There was a fellow that I was around for a couple of years in the work that I was doing. And I was just bugged by the fact that he would be critical of people around him. He would be kind of mental and critical. And I held this judgment about him for about a year. And maybe it's true, but oh my gosh, it took me a year to admit that that was within myself. I suddenly saw that coming up when I began talking with people that I was feeling impatient with. And what's wrong? You know, why don't you get this so that I can move faster? Why aren't you being more convenient for me that you would get this faster? And oh my gosh, when I saw this, I thought I can no longer judge that person. So to heal that in myself, I had to accept that, and that I was still lovable, even if my behavior was not, and that I wanted to change that, but that did not make me lovable. First, we have to love ourselves to be able to change ourselves. Funny. Doesn't mean we want to keep that behavior, but we know that we are innately valuable and lovable, innately underneath our behavior, which is changeable. And, you know, we can say, I don't like that behavior, I want to change that. Just like a child who breaks something in the house, and if you leave his self-esteem intact, you will say, you know, that is not acceptable behavior to throw a hard ball around in the house and break vases and stuff. That's not acceptable behavior. You are valuable and lovable, but your behavior is not. Let's work on that. Let's change that. And so that's what we can do for ourselves to polish up. So if you want to be more deserving, loving, non-judgmental with other people, take a look at ourselves first. And I'll go back to Jeff now.
Awesome. So to wrap this up, leading others to the law of connection. Number one, communicate with openness and sincerity. You know, be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. The easiest way. It says choose candor and caring as tools to keep you balanced. Authenticity is a trait people are looking for. So I think Bess mentioned, you know, talking about trying to be too perfect online. We talk about this a lot when it comes to presentations. People are trying to get their presentation so perfect and like, well, I can't present like these other great people can present. Well, of course not. You haven't practiced enough. So it's cool to see the development online. It's just nobody wants to do the development online. They're like, well, I don't want the development out there, you know, for people to see when I made a mistake. But that's what people are going to buy. They're going to buy watching you not be as good and then getting better and better. I've worked with somebody over the last few months that kind of went from zero to hero. Everybody's now asking. It's so funny. Now everybody's asking, how is this lady doing so much every month? But we actually put out a challenge at the beginning of the year to do a presentation every single day. She did it every single day for 30 days and was only able to sign up a small handful of people. It was like 3 or 4 people. Then all of a sudden it went from 3 to 6 to 9 to 11. In about a 90-day period of time, she signed up about 30 people, over half of which were customers. But it seems like consistently she's bringing these people on again and again and again. And now it's been months, but she does Facebook Lives every single day. It's one of the secrets. And now she just follows up with the people who keep questioning her. She said it really took about 30 days. It really took about 30 days for people to start asking, hey, I see your videos every day. What are you doing? Hey, I see your videos every day. Can I have more information? I see your video every day. What about this? What about this? To start asking questions. It took about 30 days for her to gain influence, but she was completely authentic. Guys, I'm brand new to this. I just need a favor. I just need to ask. And that's why the favor script is so good, even with the Facebook Live, and presenting your opportunity. Hey guys, I just need a huge favor. But the key is being consistent about it. She related to people. She connected with people. Jennifer's with us. Hello. James is with us. Hello. So she was able to connect with it. So knowing your audience is the second thing. So first of all, communicate with openness and sincerity. Secondly, know your audience. Who are you talking to? She was talking to the people on Facebook. So she wasn't trying to be perfect. She's like, hey guys, this is casual. I just want to let you know, need a huge favor. I just got started in something. I wanted to let you know what I do, how it works. If you have some interest, here's how to get a hold of me. Every day she went on for 30 days. You know, in April, I think was the first month. May, she started to explode. By June and July, you know, people were calling me, how is this person doing so much? I'm like, she just was consistent, guys. And she knew her audience and she started connecting with people. She would talk about, because she was a mother at home with a little one, with two other ones. And she was talking about, hey guys, you know, this is great, being able to work from home, the problems. And her kids were running around in the background sometimes, you know, and sometimes she was getting something for them and sometimes she was doing something for them. So it was so relatable to so many people. People were like, well, if this lady can figure it out, I mean, that's what she told me. She's like, if this lady can figure it out, anybody can do this. 3, live your message. If you're talking about whatever you're doing, if you're trying to teach people to do it, do it. 4, go where they are. Go where they are means just meet them where they're at. Don't try to take them to the mansion and Ferrari. Just bring them to where they're at and maybe just beyond their comfort zone. 5, focus on them, not you. This is a major thing I can always tell with people who have self-esteem issues, because people with self-esteem issues is always woe is me. Me, 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 me. And now that I'm done talking about me, what do you think about me? That's just a self-esteem. I had the same problem. I still sometimes struggle with this part. Being able to say, I've left conversations still and be like, why did I keep talking? Why? You know, and then I realized, okay, I'm still working on this. I'm still dealing with this. How do I improve it next time? 6, believe in them. Hey, you can get out of this. You can get out of this. You can fix this. I know people who have way more problems. I know people who have way less going for them that have figured out how to do this. You're going to be able to get, you know, it's so funny because I remember a friend of ours, Tim, one of my mentors, made $1 million in 5 different companies in 11 years. $1 million each time, not $1 million total, $1 million each time, about every 24 months, able to build another company to $1 million, $100,000 a month. And he was so funny because he would believe in people so much. He's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be able to tear this up. You know, you're gonna be able to, you'll be able to break into a zoo and slap the stripes off a zebra. I mean, it was just, he would say something ridiculous, but it would get people laughing. And watch this. If you want to connect with people, if you want to be the quickest, because we're talking about the law of connection, if you want to connect with people faster than anything, make them laugh. If you can make them laugh in the first 15 to 30 seconds, it is hard not to like somebody that you're laughing consistently at. It's hard. So he would be a little bit more outrageous. He would get people to laugh. He would get people to do crazy stuff. And because people would do that, they'd be like, I don't know. He's nuts, but I like him. I don't know why I like him. And, you know, he would keep talking about that. He's like, you're going to be so excited you'll be able to break into a zoo and swing a lion around your head. I mean, it would be like, that's not even possible in your mind, but it's funny. You know, he's like, have you ever gotten so excited you want to tie 2 cobras together? And you're like, what is he talking about? But again, he would get the laughter and he would get the humor behind it. And he would just keep, you know, it'd be stuff like that all the time. He's like, man, you just seem so excited right now. You could drink a 5-hour energy drink and chase cars down the street. And, you know, he'd be talking to somebody in a wheelchair and you'd see the light in that person's eyes. And it's a crazy belief, but it's a belief in them. And because of that, and because of the humor behind it, they would laugh and smile. And all of a sudden, I mean, I've watched him turn people so fast. He just, anybody negative, this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, you know, I don't know what's going on the inside. He's like, you're kind of, you know, you're that sourpuss. He's like, you don't want to turn inside out because you know, if this is what the outside, if this is what your outside looks like, your inside must be all messed up. So you want to, you know, you might want to like let that out and get that out. And you see the person change. Oh no, he's like, you must be having a bad day or something must have happened. He's like, you know, we have another friend who walked up. He goes, have you ever seen somebody that just, you know, they got this sourpuss look on their face? He's like, because all money's mad money. He's like, do you know that? And people are like, huh? He's like, yeah, all money's mad money. He's like, have you ever walked up to somebody that's looking a bad mood and be like, you're broke, aren't you? I mean, he was so outrageous. He would come at people like that. He's like, you're broke, aren't you? He's like, $500 would change your life, wouldn't it? And He's like, you'd be amazed at how many people are like, yeah, I'm just thinking about something totally. And that's how he would break the conversation up and open the door to actually have a conversation with somebody. Just so funny, so outrageous. He's like, all money is mad money. He's like, because when you don't have it, you're mad, right? And I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So last, offer direction and hope. So think about this. If you communicate with somebody openly and you're authentic, hey, how you doing? What's your day like? And you know your audience and you kind of get to know who they are. You're living the message. You go where they're at. You focus on them. You believe in them. And then you ask at the end, hey, I know this sounds totally, so this is cold market. Hey, I know this sounds totally crazy. But the reason I've asked you some of the questions is my background is I'm a recruiter. Our company's always expanding and looking for the right kind of people. You kind of have the personality. You kind of have the personality in the background that our company looks for. I just want to know something. Are you open to doing anything else outside of what you're doing now? Everybody's like, what are the words to use to cold contact? Are you open to doing anything else outside of what you're doing now? I didn't say business. I didn't say, are you interested in making more money? I didn't use money. I didn't use business. I didn't use any of that. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're brand new, say, I have a friend. I have a friend who has a company who looks for people who have your personality. Are you open to doing anything? I would love to be able to connect you guys. That's a compliment, guys. That's a compliment to most people. Mm-hmm. They're looking for successful people like you. And that person's like, I'm not successful. What are you talking about? But they want to be. So therefore, mm-hmm. that's how I started. And I would always have a business card or a piece of paper. I mean, you'd be amazed if you hand somebody a pen and you hand somebody a piece of paper, be like, just put whatever the best number is to get a hold of you. And I'll have that person. I just want to connect you with them. I mean, even if it's not for you, maybe you know somebody. So with that, guys, I'm going to turn this back over to Bess to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody for jumping on. It's Friday already, which seems amazing. Yeah. And this was law number 10, the law of connection. Man, the month's going by so fast. So appreciate you guys, and turn this over to Bess for any closing thoughts.
Thanks, Jeff. I think my takeaway is that humor thing, because I sure do love to laugh. So yeah, helping people like that guy, but in my own way. I can't copy him, so I got to find my own joy inside, my own fun to share with people. And want to say hi to Mark, Larry, June, Adrian, and James. Speaking of Facebook Lives, there is a new member in our Sunday night skills class, the basics class. Her name is Tammy White, and she makes Facebook Lives a lot, maybe daily, for her business, doing demos. And she gets like 600 to 1,000 views. That's not unusual for her. And she said, "Why is that?" Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it, Jeff? She said, "Why is that?" You know, she said, "I think it's just because I just am warm and I just connect with people." You know, she's nothing special. I mean, excuse me, Tammy, you are special, but I mean, you're not, you know, polished, perfect. She's not anything that anyone else is not. So you might like to catch her videos and just see how she said, "I think it's just because I'm personable. You know, I just love people. I just connect with people." She's just herself. That's what I mean. She's special in that way, in her own unique ways, but she's not, you know, anything like super professional, polished, or anything like that. Their basics class, by the way, Sunday nights, this Sunday, every Sunday, we cover the 10 core basics, the 10 core commitments. And it's a huge start, wonderful foundation start for your business and for your team too. A lot of the people here are on. If you are still on, there's a lot of people actually from that class on here. If you are, we'd love to hear a word, maybe what you like best about the class. I'd love to share that with people. Another takeaway I got from Jeff was the more that you tell on yourself and be yourself, the more people, the more that you're like them, the more connection that you have with people. And if you know, one way to connect, make sure that you know your front line's names, histories, and goals. The more that you can remember people's names, remember some things about them, and know what their dreams are. That's what touches people, right? When they actually, like, I've had people say, wow, you called me by name, you remember my name, you know, that's really cool. Or you remember something that you've discussed, or you remember what's valuable to them, what they value, what they're going for, what their goals are. That touches people, that you remember these things about them or can mention that. And that's an art, because it takes a lot of memory or note taking. Tom Chenault has a system called contact mapping, which I think I'm going to get that system and be able to then organize my notes about people better so that I can remember and pull it up before I contact them and refer to the things we already talked about. I do that with my notes now, but I think that could make it easier. Another tip is to remove barriers between you and other people. If you can, the best you can, remove physical distance, remove cultural differences or educational, relate to the backgrounds, but try to bridge the gap as much as you can, or find a common interest that you have with people. You can look on Facebook and go through their about page until you find something you haven't got. We're both organic. Oh, we both love dogs. Or we're both live in Kansas. That's the bridge that I use to start connecting with people. What's this like for you, or something that they mention. And this is a good place to mention, just real briefly in 1 minute, about the 4 personalities. The more that you learn about the 4 different personalities and the blends of them and who you are and who they are, the more you can connect with that person. I saw a lady who gave a lecture on the 4 personalities at a business networking group. I think it was like BNI. And she talked real fast with bullet points, but she said, when you talk with there's 4 different types of person. There's the D, or the dominant, the driver. Think of Jeff when you think of that. And then there is the I, the influential. Think of Sonny Bono or Robin Williams when you think of that, of kind of a fun person. And there's an S person. They're kind of steady. Think of me like that, the more relationship. And then there's the conscientious. Think of Dr. Spock on Star Trek like that, more mental and figures and facts and stuff. So the more that you can know that there are these traits, and if a person is more one than the other, this lady suggested that you become like a chameleon. When you're talking with that person, if you can become like them, you can get on their wavelength, even adopt their body posture, their stance, their speed of talking, their volume of talking, their kind of words. See if you can harmonize with them. That's a real good way to connect with people. And interesting, this speaker, I spoke with her afterward, and while she was fast and bullet point and everything like that, during her talk, when she talked with me, she slowed down and she talked and I thought, now I like this person, now I really like this person. So I've had it demonstrated to me a lot. So see how you can get on their wavelength. We invite you to join the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. It's a Facebook group. If you're not already, we'd love to have you be part of that for all the perks that you get in there, including the replays and free book and everything. We'd love to invite you to our Sunday night class. We're having a ball in there. We're making a difference for people. They're saying that, let's see some of the things people are saying. Can't find my little list right now, but rave reviews about it, how it's making a difference in our life, how we appear wholesome to them in a world where network marketers are overwhelmed by so many choices, that we have at last made something basic and simple and duplicatable. That was important to a person that hadn't run across that before. We fill in where your sponsor may not be there for you, or may not be approachable, or may not fit your personality type. You may not get everything that you want. It's really rare when you do get everything that you want and need from your company and upline. So we fill in the gaps for people. We fill in the loose ends, and we love doing that. I'll put a link there, but if you want to verbally hear it, it's mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics. mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics. Very affordable, no contract, generic, wonderful, fun, powerful. So we'd love to see you. Tomorrow is Monday is law number 11, the law of the inner circle. That's how to develop and work with the people closest to you, and have that be part of your success plan, your game plan. And Jeff, see, there's comments here that I haven't been watching. Is there anything from the comments that we?
Nancy said, but an interesting example, a main guy on Narcos, knew everybody's name, their family's name, their personal things about them. He had a lot of influence over people by the way he paid attention. Yeah, I mean, you know, getting to know people and who they are and what their backgrounds is, and being able to remember people's names. Some of us are really good at that. Some of us aren't. I'll give you kind of a quick trick. Typically, we don't remember people's names because we don't actually see in words, we see in pictures. So if you want a quick way to remember anybody's name, you actually want to visualize their face and remember another person. So when I'm thinking about, you know, Lucy, I'm just going to give this as an example. You know, I Love Lucy. When I think of I Love Lucy, the show, if you visualize the two faces, you might not remember that person, but you'll remember the other face. So you'll remember one of the names. A guy who actually memorized like 55 people in the first 2 hours of being in this event. I watched him do this and I was just like, man, that is incredible how he did it. But he's like, it's about visualization. He goes, I watched a guy do this in a consulting company, and I came up to him at the end and I found out what he was doing. I went and researched the books and figured out how to do it myself. He goes, now I get paid to speak and do this. Wonderful presentation as usual. Judy says, thank you so much. So we just appreciate everybody for jumping on Monday through Friday. We actually do this. We go through this, you know, connection is what it's all about. John closes with, I like people, but I just don't feel like we're on the same page. That's a time to teach the law of connection. I can't really get to people, you know, I'm in front of them, but I don't feel like, you know, there's no breakthrough. Again, it's probably a connection issue. You haven't taken the time to actually figure out who they are, what they want, what they like, what they're into. But when you figure that stuff out and you spend time talking with them, you know, always think 80-20. If you meet with somebody 80% of the time, they should be talking about 20% of the time. It should be you, you know, in a one-on-one conversation. If you make that your dominating motive, typically it goes really, really well. So with that, guys, I appreciate everybody. Have a great Friday. I hope everything's going well. We'll talk to you real soon. If anybody wants, you can see the replays on the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show on our Facebook page. We also have a YouTube channel where we put up all these videos and they're subtitled, so that way our deaf team or deaf organization can see them, as well as anybody else who's looking to read the information rather than listen. We have a great time, and Sunday's class is going to be awesome. We're going to do a recap. We're also giving away some certificates to people who have completed the first 10 sessions, the first 10 core, and graduate. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Turn that back over to Bess. Anything else?
Just thank you. Hi to Femi, Judy, the people who just came on. That's it.
Mariah and Twee, and there's a bunch of people who jumped on for the first time.
That's it.
Krista.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.